The state of Lithuania was formed of Lithuanian lands in the first half of the 13th century. Among the Lithuanian lands that occupied the largest part of the Nemunas River basin, the land of Lithuania was the most important in the Nemunas and the Neris interstream region. North of the upper Neris River there was Nalshe, to the north of the lower Neris River there was Deltuva, and to the west of it stretched Samogitian lands. Mindaugas ended the contest of the dukes of these and other smaller Lithuanian lands by uniting the Lithuanians into one state. However, other Baltic tribes also participated in the process of creating and reinforcing the state of Lithuania. Their contribution, though on a smaller scale, was rather significant. It seemed likely that the Scalvians and the Nadruvians, who inhabited the lower Nemunas River, as well as the Selians, who were settled around the Daugava River, recognized the superiority of Mindaugas. Though Mindaugas, forced by political circumstances, handed them over to the Crusaders, it may be that these lands accepted such a deal as valuable for themselves. The lands of these neighboring tribes, with the exception of the southern lands of the Selonians in the north of present-day Aukštaitija, were never regained by the state of Lithuania. They remained in the power of the Teutonic Order and Livonia. Other northern neighbors of Lithuanians, the Curonians and the Semigalians, who experienced the invasion of the Teutonic Order and the Catholic Church early on, at the beginning of the 13th century, continued to resist and defended their freedom. Their relationship with the Lithuanians was complicated. The Lithuanians both helped their neighbors and pushed their own way into their lands. Take the Samogitians, for example. Through the Curonian lands they gradually penetrated as far as the Baltic Sea near Palanga and Šventoji and anchored there. In this way, by the middle of the 13th century, the Curonian lands were divided between the Livonians and the state of Lithuania. The Semigalians proved to be more persistent and stronger. In the second half of the 13th century they were about to create their own state. The Semigalian dukes Viestratas and Nemesis became famous for their resistance against the Livonians. However, their new neighbors turned out to be stronger as northern Semigalia fell into the hands of the order. Meanwhile, at the end of the 13th century, southern Semigalia joined the state of Lithuania, and Semigalia's Nemesis became one of the military leaders of the Lithuanian ruler Traidenis. The fate of the Jotvingian tribes was even more complicated. It seems that early on, in the times of Mindaugas, at least the northeastern part of the Jotvingian lands in the middle reaches of the Nemunas River was part of the state of Lithuania. The lands of the Jotvingians, also referred to as the Suduvians, who failed to create their own state, were within the range of interests of their old and new neighbors, the Volhynians and the Masurians, the Crusaders and the Lithuanians. The chronicles recorded that the last battles of the Jotvingians against the Crusaders, the Old Russians and the Poles took place in around 1282 to 83. Their lands were divided. Only Sudovia, the northeastern part of the Jotvingian lands, remained within the state of Lithuania. The creation and strengthening of the state of Lithuania involved not only the lands of the Lithuanian tribes, but also some lands that belonged to their Baltic neighbors, including all their inhabitants. Gradually, the latter became assimilated, they turned into Lithuanians, but left their traces in dialects, place names, and names of the bodies of water. For example, the Selian Zarasas, the Curonian Babrungas, Kretinga and Kretingale, the Jotvingian Liepalingis, Kirsna, and many others. The Balts took part in strengthening the young state of Lithuania in other ways too. Their large groups, unable to withstand the Crusaders' pressure and losing their freedom, preferred to leave their motherland and go to Lithuania. It is known that in 1276 the Prussian Balts from the state of the Teutonic Order surrendered to Traidenis. In 1280 and 1283, a part of the Jotvingians, most likely also referred to as the Dainavians, fled to Lithuania from the Crusaders. In 1364 and 65, some Scalvians were taken out of the state of the Teutonic Order as prisoners. Traidenis and his successors settled several thousand newcomers along the upper Nemunas River. This is proven by a small rural district of Barčiai and Skalviai that was established there later. About 800 Scalvians were settled along the Nemunas River in Žemaitija, Samagisha. At the end of the 13th century, the trace of the Semigalians who withdrew to Lithuania was most likely known as the small rural district of Žemygala in the environs of Raseiniai. In this way, other Balts joined the Lithuanian nation that was forming at that time. Most often, they were settled in a concentrated manner, in villages or even small rural districts. The small rural districts and groups of villages, as well as the various place names scattered all over the old lands of the Lithuanians, are the best proof of these developments. Barčiai, Barčialaukis, Barteliai, Bartygala, Dainava, Dainavėlė, Dainaviškiai, Kuršiai, Kuršėnai, Kuršukai, Latveliai, Latviai, Latvygala, Prūsagalė, Prūseliai, Sėlynė, Sėliškės, Zelioniškės, Zėliškiai. All of them, or at least most of them, contained villages which moved there from other Baltic tribes. Thus, other Baltic tribes perceived Lithuania as a close country. Lithuania was attractive to go to when faced with a peril. Having joined the Lithuanian nation, they became assimilated and in essence did not have any impact on the Lithuanians. However, their contribution to strengthening the state of Lithuania was quite notable.